Greetings. This is the video to explain step 2 of the unit project. You've completed the justification paper. You were able to explain the appropriateness of your paper, how children learn, what you need to teach, and different teaching and assessment strategies. So now you're ready to write out learning objectives, assessment, and activities for your unit in order that children can answer the essential question that you selected. I call this step alignment, and I have written the word here and will describe what alignment needs on the next slides. As you plan, you need to consider two things. First, how will you include rich learning experiences in which children achieve several kinds of significant learning simultaneously? Here, you will want to think about all of the content areas with the arts richly represented, as you can see on this side of the flower. You'll want to think about how children learn and how important it is to use senses as children learn. You'll also want to engage their thinking. So keep in mind the mind, or the sun in this diagram, and you'll want to use a variety of intelligences. This is where Howard Gardner's theory comes into play, and that's the roots of the plant. As you plan, consider how children think and reflect on what they are learning, how they are learning, and the significance of what they are learning. Remind children of the essential question often as you think about teaching this particular unit. You'll provide activities and give effective feedback so that they can reflect on what they are learning and how they are learning. What exactly is alignment? I like to use an analogy of a GPS with the objective as your destination, the assessment, what are you looking for? How will you know you've arrived? And the activity as the route that gets you to the destination. First, you need to write the objective or determine your destination. Where are you going with this unit? Second, how will you know you've arrived? What are you looking for? For example, one day I was out visiting a student at her Head Start program. I knew that the program was located on a particular road in Marshfield. As I came on the road, I was looking at the numbers and I noticed that I couldn't find her building. There was a business and then there was a yoga studio, and in between was supposed to be her building, and I didn't see it. Had the student let me know that her building was set behind the yoga studio, it would have been much easier for me to know that I had arrived. I would have known what I was looking for. So your assessment describes how you've arrived at the objective and what exactly you're looking for. Now, how do I get to my objective? What is my route? How will I get there? And like a GPS, when you are actually teaching your activity, you will do a lot of recalculating to make sure children can arrive at the destination. The next concept I want to talk about after alignment, we know where we're going, we know when we'll have arrived, and we know how we're going to get there. Often students get confused with what is a unit and what is a lesson. A unit basically is a series of lessons. This graphic illustrates this very well with the unit essential question listed here, and the individual lessons would be in the yellow. So this will give you an idea of how the lessons work together to answer the unit essential question. For example, if I had selected the essential question from page 2 of your unit planning packet, how do I use wind power, and I wanted to teach this to a group of second grade children, I might have the following 3 unit objectives. The children will explain that wind power involves turning energy from the wind into other forms of usable, clean, and renewable energy. This would meet the Massachusetts Curriculum Standard in Earth and Space Science number 2, Understand that Wind is Moving Air, on page 25. Notice that I noted the curriculum standard after the objective, so it's clear exactly what I'll be teaching in this particular unit. The second unit objective that I would have for this particular essential question is the children will compare how wind power can be harnessed in a number of different ways. For example, windmills create mechanical energy, sails move boats, and wind turbines generate electricity. Again, I've listed the Massachusetts Curriculum Standard and the page number. The third thing that I would want to have children be able to do by the end of the unit would be that children will locate countries that use wind power to generate electricity commercially in each continent. This would meet a history and social science objective for second grade, and again, I have written out the objective and listed the page number. So these 3 together are what I would teach in the unit, and then in one individual lesson, I might have this as a lesson objective, where the children would identify that large groups of wind turbines are called wind farms, and identify that modern wind turbines have 3 blades which can reach speeds of up to 200 miles an hour, and the tips of the large turbines are 650 feet. I would get a standard out of mathematics. I didn't have that listed here. But you can see that this is where my unit objectives are, and that I would need a series of lessons to teach each of these unit objectives. So remember, when you're filling out the unit chart, that your objective is what you want students to know or do after the unit. Your assessment is the kind of task that will reveal whether students have achieved the learning objectives. And your activities, what activities would teach your objective and prepare students for assessment. Let's take a peek at the form. The first column in the form says objective for the unit including the learning standard. So I just had provided you an example of 3 objectives that I had listed. There are 3 different rows. I would place each one of those objectives on that chart in the first column in each of the 3 rows. Next, I would have to determine an assessment for each of the objectives in the unit. The assessment should include content knowledge for the teacher. What are you teaching? So, in my example, I had the third objective was that they would locate countries. So in the third row on my unit planning chart, I would add, to assess unit objective number 3, I would collect a work sample where students locate one country in each continent. Correct responses include, and I've listed the continents and the countries that would be the correct responses. Notice that Antarctica does not have any wind turbines, so it would be appropriate that the students would say Antarctica has none. I had to go and do research in order to know this. I just did not know this off the top of my head. Another example might be, perhaps you were doing a unit about rules and responsibilities, and a unit objective in your unit was the children will explain 3 ways to be responsible in the classroom. An assessment for this perhaps would be, I will ask the children, how can you be responsible at school? I'll record their answers or collect quotes. I would be looking for ideas such as, and then I've put a list of ideas that would show responsibility in the classroom. The third column in your chart is for activities. What would have to happen during the unit for students to do well on the assessment? In each of these areas, you will list for each objective 5 activities that could possibly teach this. And again, it's to allow for practice and feedback. It's your root. It enables a success, and these are your lessons. Let me use my example. We had the objective. I told you about locating countries on the map, what would be the appropriate countries. Now, how am I going to get there? What am I going to need to teach? What lessons will I need to plan so that students can locate the countries that are using wind power in all of the continents? Well, the first thing I might do would be to read an informational text on wind power. The second thing I might do is have the students use the internet to research where wind power is used. Number 3, I would have them locate countries on a map. Number 4, I would compare locations for patterns. And number 5, I would maybe have them do a role play of interviewing people in different countries about the use of wind power in their particular countries. Here you don't have to go into detail. That will be step 3 in the unit planning project, where you will select one of these items and write a lesson about it. Right now you can be very general in what you would plan to do. I hope I've answered your questions regarding the unit planning chart that is due on October 3rd. If you have any further questions, don't hesitate to email your instructor. Enjoy planning.